Okay, welcome back to more of Hero's Memory. So we should be ready to go into level 9. Let's start off on that place. And you're given clues about where you need to go. So you just make sure you look into it a little bit. But basically you're going to use the whistle. And you want to warp to... well, technically level 8. But you're actually not going to warp to level 8 directly if you actually take a closer look. You're actually going to warp to this corner that you couldn't get to before. I think this is the only way to get to this area, is to actually warp here. No point going to the right yet. We'll be over there in due time. Okay, so you actually want to go under here, because this doesn't just take you back to the surface. This will actually take you to this corner you couldn't get to otherwise. And this is probably one of those checkpoints that you gotta make sure you've cleared all 8 levels. Okay, into Vagnum's lab. And this place is a little bit annoying to go through. You'll see why. You know, having the lens probably helps you out quite a bit here, because there's a lot of random passages. Also a lot of one-way paths to note. And it's actually useful to find these early, because that way, when you get later in the level, you can kind of see, okay, I shouldn't go this way. And I don't think you can do anything if you go up. Again, there are a lot of dead ends in this place, so just make a note of where you need it. It may not hurt to actually draw a little map of this place. Okay, you got a fairly messy room here. Now you're gonna have to be pretty fast getting past all these little lasers. If you want to be a little bit lazy, though, I don't think I've actually used Nayru's love before, so we'll actually put this to some use. I don't have to worry about damage, and it doesn't actually take up as much magic as you think, especially with the double magic. Kind of interesting that arrows actually damage the dark nuts. actually very convenient because I don't think these darkness, you can't use your boomerang on them. So you can't stun them. Again, another door that doesn't open, so, when you get to the other side of the passage, you just make sure you refer to your map. It's gonna save you a lot of backtracking down the line. And I think these lasers do too hard to hit, that's why I just, throw some magic away to... just make sure I get to the room safely. And these little pipes here with the torches, you'll see how that works later on. And pretty much you should be able to get your magic back pretty easily in this place. So don't be afraid to spam whatever spells you got. Okay, this room can get a little bit messy. Again, you're kind of limited by the lasers. You see how much damage they do. Not a bad idea to use again, don't be afraid to spam Nayru's love in this place, because there are a lot of little cheap gimmicks that will drain away your energy very quickly. Alright, another gimmick of this place is you got these kind of electric floors or whatever, fire or electric floors. Now, you can only be damaged by them when they fully light up. So if they're kind of any other shade, darker shade, you don't get damaged by them. So, just to get an idea of when you should move off. Now, I think these do constant damage, so it doesn't matter what armor you have. So just an FYI there. Yeah, this one you want to make sure you move on quickly. You don't have much time to actually react before the tiles light up. And luckily my boomerang can actually take out these tiles as well now. Trying to remember which way to go. I believe going to the right leads to a dead end. Actually, could use some hearts here. And nothing you can do about this room. Just make a mental note of that, because you have to get around the back side of that room. And nothing in this room either. Just for map completion. And what's annoying is that you have to pretty much have to go through this room each time. Yeah, this room can get a bit obnoxious. You know, half the room is already gone from these, the electric tiles. You know, I'm in a lazy mood. This darkness actually do so much damage. I think they actually do 2 hearts of damage. Now, it's not just a dead end in this room, there is actually more stuff in this place. Again, that's why the lens is kind of helpful. You kind of see anything you're missing. Okay, this room. Yeah, you can see how much damage those things do. Actually, you know, I'm like really lazy right now, and since my magic is gonna probably recover anyway, I'm just gonna safeguard through this. Again, a lot of rather cheap gimmicks to see how much damage you take. I'll just let my magic recover, because it's... You know, it actually recovers fairly quickly. Now this room is not a dead end, so you can get to use your lens. Get down to this room. Yeah, not a lot of room to move in this place. Okay, pretty simple room here. Again, the annoying thing is all these tiles. You pretty much have to move the blocks one step at a time. And just to make this a little faster. Because remember, I believe that's 2 hearts a hit on those electric floors. So, just anything to save some trouble here. Okay, you get red mail. At least that's gonna put us back on an even par for this place. least tone down some of the damage. And there was a hidden room to the right, so I'm gonna take a look at this now. And remember, the increased armor doesn't help you from the electric floors. You actually still take the same amount of damage. I found all this magic and stuff, I might as well use it. It may have been faster to use Nayru's, or not Nayru's, Pharaoh's Wind. Let me just warp back to the start, rather than having to go through this minefield again. Okay, so now we can get to kind of an interesting little gimmick with this place. So, you know, you just use the rod on these. And this is kind of basically your stairways and your mechanism for getting on to other areas. Luckily, most of them are two-way paths. But now we're kind of like in a whole different area of this place. So it's not necessarily stairways, because some of them would just lead onto the same floor, just a different area of it. It's kind of funny that enemies can't really get up to the top tile or two or something. So at least you can kind of take your time on this, try to figure out how this works. So it's with this little area that's pretty safe, so you can just kind of use that as a starting point. Luckily the Gust Jar works on these Armos statues. Again, you notice a lot of these doors that don't open, so it's actually better to explore the dead ends first, actually. Again, this is useful for later on so that you're not having to guess which way to go. So you may as well just knock out the dead ends first, and that way you have you're not going to get as lost. Again, you probably don't want to go in the center of the room to fight these guys. The lasers there are not helping. You're already limited on space. You just kind of use these... That little space on the right is at least a little safety zone. And nothing in this room. I think it's another dead end. And luckily the staff doesn't drain magic that quickly because of the magic ring helps. Again, you just want to use it in a little burst of activity. And try not to keep it on like constantly, because you don't really need that actually. You just need it on long enough to do your damage. Now, if you start looking at your map, you don't want to go to the right because that leads to a, that's basically a one-way door. And there's actually nothing you can do in this room. So you gotta get to this room from another angle. Yeah, it might be better just to go to the start menu to switch items because I'm going through like half my inventory just to get to the item I'm looking for. Okay, this one's gonna be a little bit annoying with the conveyor belts. Luckily the traps don't move. Okay, this room you got the Dongo guys here. Pretty much just wasting away bombs here because I'm mislaying them. Okay, at least get some of my bombs back. Yeah, always a good idea to light up the room because you wouldn't even be able to see those floors otherwise. And just to make this go a little faster. Now, if you look at your map, you don't want to go to the right, because that's a one-way path. So, at this point, you're going to look for other ways around this room. A lot of rather cheap gimmicks in this place, as I mentioned before, so I'm just in a very lazy mood. I think got all my magic back. So you're gonna use these little pipes to get around some of these areas you couldn't get to before. the Gust Jar can do double duty for me there. Damages both enemies. Actually, interestingly, reflected fireballs actually do damage to these bats as well. Save me a little bit of trouble. Get rid of all the fish first. And now you got a fairly simple room to get through. You just have got to get to the 4 pegs in the corner. And you don't want to go up just yet. Because that's going to take you onto another one-way path. Okay, so we got through a good portion of this level. Gonna take a small break, and next part we'll keep going through pretty much the basement of this place. And finish off our exploration down there. Alright, see you guys later.